he changed how the world listens, how it talks, how it dreams. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't an engineer. He was something rarer, a visionary. He built a company from a small garage. He got fired from it, and then came back to save it. This is not just a story about technology. It's a story about failure, courage, and the power of thinking differently. This is the story of Steve Jobs. He was born on February 24th, 1955, in San Francisco, California. His birth parents, Joanne and Abdul Fattah, were university students. They weren't prepared for a child. They decided to give him up for adoption, but the first couple who agreed to adopt him changed their mind. They wanted a girl, rejection again. Finally, a kind mechanic named Paul Jobs and his wife Clara took him in. They promised to love him like their own, and to one day send him to college. Steve grew up in a small home in California. He was curious, restless, and full of questions. He didn't like school. He got bored easily and didn't fit in. But he loved machines. He loved design. He believed that one day, computers could change the world. He later enrolled at Reed College, but dropped out after one semester. Still, he kept learning. He sneaked into classes on calligraphy, design, and philosophy. He sat quietly at the back, not for grades, but for inspiration. He had no dorm room, so he slept on friends' floors. He collected empty Coke bottles for a few coins. And once a week, he walked miles to a Hare Krishna temple just for a free meal. He didn't ask his parents for money. He chose to struggle because freedom meant more to him than comfort. But he never stopped learning. In 1976, at just 21 years old, Steve Jobs and his friend Steve Wozniak started Apple Computer in a small garage in Los Altos, California. Their goal was simple: bring computers to ordinary people. They built the Apple I by hand and sold it one by one. Then came the Apple II, colorful, easy to use, and perfect for homes and schools. It became a huge success. Apple grew from a garage dream into a real company. Jobs and Wozniak became pioneers of a new era. But Wozniak preferred inventing to business. He quietly stepped away. Jobs stayed, driven, brilliant, but demanding. He pushed people hard, sometimes too hard. In 1984, he launched the Macintosh, a beautiful computer with a mouse, icons, and design that felt human. But behind the scenes, conflict grew. Jobs clashed with Apple's CEO, John Sculley. Steve wanted bold innovation. Sculley wanted stability and profits. Jobs tried to remove Sculley, but the board sided against him. At just 30 years old, Steve Jobs was fired from the company he had created. He later said, "It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it." He didn't quit. He started a new company, Next, building powerful computers for universities and businesses. It wasn't a commercial success, but its software would one day become the foundation of Apple's future. He also bought a small animation studio from George Lucas. That studio became Pixar. Under Jobs' vision, Pixar created Toy Story, Finding Nemo, and Up. They didn't just entertain, they moved hearts. Pixar changed animation forever. And Jobs became a billionaire. In 1991, he married Laureen Powell, a business student he met at Stanford. They built a family together. Meanwhile, Apple was struggling. By the mid-1990s, sales were falling and innovation was fading. In 1997, Apple bought Next, not just for its technology, but to bring Steve Jobs back. He returned to the company that once rejected him. This time, he was wiser, calmer, and more focused. He simplified everything. Then came the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, and finally the iPad. He didn't just make products. He created experiences. He changed how people communicate, think, and live. He believed technology should connect with the soul. That design should feel human. In 2003, Jobs was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He refused treatment at first, trying alternative methods. Later, he had surgery. He kept his illness private, but the world saw him grow thinner. Still, he kept working. He kept creating. Then came a moment that would define him forever. In 2005, Steve Jobs stood before a group of graduates at Stanford University. He was thin, dressed in black, and speaking with the quiet confidence of someone who had truly lived. Before we continue, let's listen to a short piece of that unforgettable speech, the one that inspired millions around the world. He told them, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." That line would echo for generations.
When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, "If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right." It made an impression on me, and since then, for the past 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart.
In 2011, he stepped down as Apple's CEO. A few weeks later, on October 5th, he passed away. He was 56. He was adopted, rejected, fired, and told he was dying. But through it all, he never stopped being curious. He never stopped dreaming. He gave the world not just computers, but vision. Not just design, but purpose. He is gone, but his ideas live in every home, in every pocket, in every dreamer who dares to think differently. Steve Jobs. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check out our next video for another inspiring journey in English.